The problem is there's no life at the bottom of the bottle. The only thing at the bottom of one bottle is another bottle. Started back at bouncing, wasn't helping. Like I just had no way out in my head. And I just kept hearing my daughter say that I don't ever want to see you again in my head. Just kept hearing it. And like the death of my friend and all the shit that I'd gone through, I was like, maybe I just don't need to fucking be here anymore.
Welcome to It's a Veteran's Life, where we share the powerful stories of those who've served our country and the families who support them. I'm your host, Mike Turbyfield, a veteran dedicated to advocating for the men and women who've worn the uniform. Join us as we dive into the challenges, triumphs, and the unwavering spirit that defines military life. Whether you're a veteran, a family member, or just someone who wants to understand the journey, this podcast is for you. Let's ensure that no veteran or their family ever feels alone. All right, so tonight we got my buddy JT, who owns the Bearded Viking Mead Company down in Columbus, Montana. Him and a couple of his buddies. He goes by Viko. Want to give us a little bit of introduction?
My name is JT. I go by Viko for long. I am the original Bearded Viking for the Bearded Viking Mead Company. I'm a 14-year veteran. Spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, 6 years in the Army National Guard, but also Army, how that goes. I have done a shitload for veterans, men's mental health, lots of real hard conversations. Yeah, I mean, I guess the purpose of this is to get to know me. I'm an open book, so I'm just people to talk to.
We'll go into a generalize. So, National Guard or Marine Corps first?
I am a crayon eater by heart. So I joined the Marine Corps on September 12th of 2001. Did 8 years in the.
That next question.
I didn't join because of September 11th. I wasn't like a patriot. That's not really in my nature. I actually joined because I had a 9-month-old daughter. I had a daughter in high school, and I had to figure out something to do. I was a mechanic at the time, working for Firestone Tires as an apprentice. And the planes hit. I realized I needed to learn how to protect my daughter, because if they could do that in New York and Pennsylvania and all these places, right, then they could easily do it in Utah, where I was born and raised. I'd never been in a fight before. A lot of people ask me, well, that makes you a patriot because you joined to fight and protect the ones that you love. Here's the problem, though. I am 100% a person who believes in freedom, so I don't really give a shit what you do as long as it doesn't affect my family or friends. It was literally learning to fight so I could protect my kid. And that's really what it was. That's where I started. I went down and talked to all the recruiters, started off in the Air Force. I asked how soon I could get into combat, and they laughed and said, if you want to be in combat, you have to be an officer. Do you have a 4-year degree? And I was like, do I look like I have a 4-year degree? I'm 18. I went over to the Navy, and I was like, what do you guys have as far as combat arms? They said, well, you could be a Navy SEAL. And I was like, I'm not cut out to be a Navy SEAL. I didn't know my mental fortitude or my mental toughness, but I definitely knew that at the time I wasn't prepared or mature enough to be in consideration to try out for SEAL training. I definitely didn't want to be stuck on a boat for my entire career, because usually if you fail out of the SEAL program, you get stuck into like boatswain's mate. And I'm not fucking scrubbing barnacles off the side of a ship.
No shit.
And then I went over and I talked to the Army, and they were like, oh, we can set you up with a Ranger contract. Don't worry, we'll train you up. You'll be ready to go to Ranger school. You'll probably be an NCO in like 2 or 3 years. You get through your training. I was like, how soon can I learn? How soon can I get fighting? Because I want to be able to protect mine. And it wasn't like I was jumping at the bit to get in a firefight. I had no desire to be in a firefight. Anybody who does is an idiot. I just wanted to be able to get into a fight, or it was a fist fight, whatever it was. I just wanted to test my mettle in life. And they were like, 18 months probably. We'll teach you some basic stuff, but you're going to actually be, sparring with other soldiers and such. And I said, that's not really for me. And then they're like, well, you could be a straight leg infantryman. And I said, okay, well, how long? And they said 6 months, and 6 months to a year, and then to be overseas, probably a year and a half, 2 years, because nobody knew how long this fight was going to be. We didn't know it was going to be 20 years. So I was walking out, and as Marine recruiters do so well, he's like, "Hey man," this Marine Corps recruiter, Staff Sergeant Pineda, I still remember it to this day, said, "Hey man, why don't you come over and talk to me?" I was like, "I don't know anything about the Marines." He's like, "Well, let's set up an appointment." I was like, not really interested in that. I didn't really know anything about the Marine Corps. I didn't know that they're the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. I didn't know that. So I went home and my buddy was on recruiter's assistant, just barely got back from boot camp. And he was like, "Hey man, why don't you just come down here? Come talk to him. I'll tell you about what I'm doing, what boot camp was kind of like. I'll give you the high synopsis level of what's going on." Yeah, so I came back down and I walked in and Staff Sergeant Pineda was sitting there. He's like, "What? You don't believe me? You got to wait for one of your friends?" I was like, "Honestly, no, you're a recruiter, so I don't believe anything anybody says." He's like, "Well, why did you come down?" I'm like, "I have a 9-month-old daughter. I'm married and I haven't graduated yet. And I still have some classes that I'm working on getting done. Super senior because I had to work full-time job while going to high school. And I've never been in a fight. I was a scrawny 5'10", 140-pound kid. Had no real skills for the world. I had nothing. I had a good smile and I tried to be good, but you're not going to be good. It's not in the cards for 18-year-olds to be good. They're idiots. I'm a classic example of that. So I sat down and talked to him and he's like, "Let's get you." And I scored through the charts as well. And he's like, "Well, you can do pretty much anything you want in the Marine Corps. You want to do linguistics? Do you want to be an MI? What do you want to do?" I'm like, "No, man, I just want to fight." He's like, "Well, here's your dream list. Write down your three things. We'll see what we can pull for you." And I said, "Well, okay, I'm going to let you know if you try to put me in something that's not cool, I'm not going to do it. So just so you're aware, I'm not signing papers. You can't talk me into it." The Army's already offered me the ability to go to 2 different types of schools, infantry, and then also with a Ranger guarantee. And I'm not looking for a bonus. I'm not here for that. So he said, "All right, cool." So I wrote down, infantry. I wanted to do so it was infantry, and then combat engineer, and then can't remember the third one. It's probably something else he talked me into, whatever, not a big deal. I went down to MEPS on my birthday, October 12th. So I technically didn't enlist on September 12th, but I just say that because that's when I made the choice, right, in my mind. But I enlisted on my birthday, October 12th of 2001, because you can't just enlist the same day. And they were so locked down, nobody was actually really doing anything. But it's just easier to say that because that's when I actually made the decision. And I came back down later that same day. So it was, there in the morning, work, called me, got me to come back down that evening, blah, 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 whatever. History's history, right? It's all about the winners write the stories. That's about history. So, and then I started off I was going active duty to go do things. And my ex-wife was like, "If you go active duty, I'll divorce you." And I was like, "Well, fuck." So I said, "All right, well, I've already signed my name to the paper. So let's move to the reserves." So I moved to the reserves initially. Charlie Company, 4th LAR, used to be based out of Utah. So I became an LAV crewman. And then I was like, "All right, cool. I'm still going to learn how to fight. We're still going to do this thing, whatever." So training's training, right? So no matter what anybody tells you, you're not going to just go fight. If there's a war that's happening, they're not going to put you through an accelerated shit at all, because they're not. So I ended up still taking 9 months to get to the point where I was able to fight. So I enlisted on October 12th, went to boot camp on January 14th. Did the boot camp experience, which is, if you're not a Marine and whatever I say to you, it won't make sense. Just know boot camp is the funniest place you're not allowed to laugh. I got really, really strong at boot camp because I smile and I laugh. I was labeled a giggler in boot camp. I did a fucking shitload of steam engines and mountain climbers. And I mean, I came out of boot camp and I was chiseled, man. I was 185 pounds and I was twisted steel and sex appeal. It was just what it is, right? Some things about me, I mean, attention to detail usually isn't that's not my strong suit. I'm a big picture guy. I'm not a small, focused guy. My mind runs at a million miles a minute. And
dude, I would beg to differ on that, man, because the shit that I've seen you do has been detailed oriented. So
I guess maybe in my older age, I'm slowing down. I don't know, but
right.
I don't know. So after I got out of boot camp, they sent me to School of Infantry. The School of Infantry is like the most morale stealing place in the world. Like, you get to the School of Infantry, and you're surrounded by people who are just trying to get to the unit, and there's so many recycles that didn't make it through because they did whatever, and they all just bring you down, and you don't have a sense of camaraderie. You have nothing. You have all these kids who everybody thinks they're shit hot because you're a Marine. So everybody's there. You got this room full of alphas, and I say alpha because everybody thinks they're an alpha, but most of them aren't. Most of them are just vet bros, and I fucking hate vet bros. Like, thank me for my service, people, and I fucking can't. I just can't with that. So in the School of Infantry, you get the opportunity to get promoted. But typically they just make people squad leaders that are louder than anybody else, right? That's kind of what it is. I wasn't a squad leader. I wasn't special. I was just a GP guy, general population guy. Did my job. I placed first in my PFT every time. I placed first in my marksmanship. You know, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, butter jam shit. You know, fam fire with the squad automatic weapon, the saw. I can kill people with that in a heartbeat if I needed to at the time. And really good with that. Really good with grenades. Like, I was very athletic in high school. Very athletic still to this day. I just don't do it as much because I'm fucking old, and so I now crunch instead of bounce. I don't do that very well. Sorry, give me a sec. So I just kind of did that, and got out of the School of Infantry, and I still had another school to go to, which was LAV Crewman School. And I had no fucking clue what an LAV is. Nobody probably does, unless you've been in the Marine Corps. And even if you're in the Marine Corps, you're like, I don't even know what that is, but it's cool. So it's an 8-wheeled tank, has a 25 millimeter turret on top. It's 14 tons, 28,000 pounds. It's pseudo amphibious, very pseudo amphibious, like a 2-foot wake will sink it kind of thing. It goes 2 knots in the water, which means you could dog paddle faster than it moves forward. It just doesn't run out of steam. It's made for forging rivers and lakes. I wouldn't really forge a river in it, but whatever. And I became really, 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 really good at that job. I was promoted time and grade while I was in school on July 1st to PFC, and meritoriously promoted to Lance Corporal on July 2nd. So I was only a PFC for one day. I have no idea what that rank actually does. I have no idea at all. So got out of school, checked into my unit. Very first thing I learned, because nobody tells you shit, right? Nobody tells you shit when you're checking into a unit. I checked in my unit, and I had my uniform, everything I thought was good, except for I didn't press my pants. I didn't have a crease all the way down my pants. And so very first thing I did is I got my asshole ripped out of me by my first sergeant and by the admin staff sergeant, and like the S1, S2, S3, everybody just fucking chewed me up and spit me out. And so I learned very young that your initial presentation of your life is actually the thing that people judge your character on. So if you're not willing to show up and look good and be squared away, then you're going to be labeled as a shitbag until you prove otherwise. So I had a lot of ground to cover. First 6 months in the unit, found out like the third drill that I was in the unit that we were going to Iraq. That we had a warno, then we had an operations order, and then it was like, hey, we're training up, we're going. And I was like, all right, cool. So I learned everything that you could ever know about the LAV. I knew its flaws. I knew its tendencies. I knew exactly how much fucking oil my freaking my diesel took to run. I knew how much it ate because they all eat oil. I knew everything you needed to know. I knew everything about the main gun. So the company commander saw me doing all this stuff, and so he made me his driver. He hand selected me as his driver to be his driver during the invasion into Iraq. So Then I had the added responsibility of not only taking care of the vehicle, but taking care of all of his shit because he's doing big stuff. And then the gunner for the vehicle, he was the company master gunner, not a master gunnery sergeant, but he's the master gunner. And so he was like, I'm not always going to be on the vehicle, so you need to learn how to use everything. So I still hold the company record for Charlie Company for disassembly and assembly and a function check on a 240 Golf. So my record is 69 seconds. That's complete disassemble, reassemble, function check, everything. Because I was and I could do it blindfolded. I could still do it blindfolded to this day. Not that fast, obviously, but I can do it blindfolded. I can tear apart the 25 millimeter cannon and put it together. Your timeline on that is 45 minutes for everything. I did it in 20. So I learned everything about the vehicle. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's a thing where, you know, I fuck up, but I fuck up often in life. And I have a mantra that I learned just recently. I've been doing it my entire life, but I couldn't put words to it. It's okay to fail as long as you're failing forward. So I fail often. I fail all the fucking time. Like, it's okay to fail. People are so worried about failure. I'm not worried about failure. I'm worried about quitting. I fucking hate quitting. It's not a thing that I know how to do. I don't stop something that I choose to start. I just don't. I try to, but it never works. Like it will eat at me, and then I just tears me apart inside. So I learned that, like, resiliency in the Marine Corps, and then it carried forward and became more compounded in the Army years later. And then outside of that, nobody gave me restrictions on things. So now I'm just next level that. I get told often that I'm too driven for what I do, which is fine. I don't care. Because I'm a person that you either like or you don't.
No, I think that's bullshit, man. Like, in my opinion, you can never be too driven, because your want to succeed is what makes everything around you succeed, in my opinion.
So I agree, but the problem is people that you surround yourself with, they don't have the same drive, and so you rub them the wrong way. You irritate them. It happens all the time in my life. Like, my friend group is small. Lots of people like me, but my friend group is small. It's bigger than most because I choose to have people that will kill for me, and I can kill for them if I need to, which I'm not going to, but that unless I absolutely had to, right? Have to disclaim that.
Right.
For everybody who's listening, I'm not that guy. So, but I am so driven to the point it's ruined relationships, because I'm focused. I that's the thing that I have to do. And it's okay. Like, I understand who I am. It's taken a long time, lots of therapy things from PTSD. PTSD makes it even worse, right? Like, this other shit, it just compounds and compounds. And so my field of view is very, very narrow, but my breadth of what I'm trying to do is large and wide. So if that makes sense. So then we get sent to Iraq, and I left for Iraq 3 days after my second daughter was born. Didn't see her till she was 1.
Oh.
Well, hold on. No, sorry, that's not right. My timeline, it's like 22 years ago, so it's a long time ago. But 21 years ago. No, I came home. So we went to Iraq, part of the invasion, fought in Al-Nazari during the Battle of the Bridges. It's like the most forgotten battle. The main one, obviously, everybody remembers, is Fallujah, followed by Ramadi, and then everybody kind of like trails off down that from there. Mm-hmm. But what people forget is, like, Task Force Tarawa, which was the entire 1st and 3rd Marine Division set up on the outside of Al-Nazari to push through this town that was full of bad guys that were trying to kill us, like, nonstop. During that time, also, we got to participate in the screen line, set up a screen line to help with the recovery of Jessica Lynch. Weird. Didn't know who she was. Thought she's an idiot. Still think she's an idiot. Whatever. But, I guess you can be an idiot and get a Bronze Star. Whatever. So then, I was a 18-year-old combat vet.
No, let's not even go there. Let's not even go there.
Nah. So 18-year-old combat vet, come home with a combat action ribbon. I have like a, as a Lance Corporal, I have 9 medals and ribbons that I earned, and none of them are like, not including the Firewatch or the GWAT service. Like got the fucking, here's your fruit salad, here you go. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with all these?
Mhm.
Like, and I would go to like events, and there'd be staff sergeants that had 3 or 4, right? And I had 9, and they would challenge me on it, and I'd, whatever. So they pulled us out, and then they would send us to Okinawa, Japan, to do a UDP to replace the units that had been over there for 18 months that were supposed to be there for 6 months. So then I got to be part of 3rd CAB, Combat Arms Battalion. I don't fucking know what it is. Anyway, I don't remember the acronym, but
I actually just interviewed a Vietnam vet a couple of weeks ago. He wasn't in Vietnam, but he was in Okinawa.
wow.
So that's he's actually that story's pretty wild. He's got some pretty cool stories, and before not to take away from what you're talking about, but it never hit me until talking to him that while we were in Vietnam, we were also in the middle of the civil rights movement.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was a black guy in the army in Okinawa during Vietnam. His story is pretty wild.
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
But anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No, totally good.
Yeah,
so that solid. So we got over there, and they moved me out of headquarters, which I was happy about, to a line platoon. So for people who don't know what a line platoon is, because it was the weirdest fucking conversation for me, a line platoon is the platoons that are on the front line. That's what it is, that you're out there fighting. So I got moved to a line platoon with a bunch of guys that I didn't know. No idea about anything. My vehicle commander, who was an actual LAV crewman, we got there and we were doing some PT, and he tore his MCL my first, like the 3rd day we're there. So I didn't get a chance to really learn from him. So they put our lead scout. So in the LAV, you have the 3 crewmen, and then you have 4 scouts in the back. And then you have each platoon has a lead scout, and then each of those lead scouts goes up for lead scout of the company. So Anthony Mutter, who's a good friend of mine, he hated me when I was a Marine because I annoyed him. He took over, and he's like, Robertson, I don't know nothing about this vehicle, so you're in charge of it. And I was like, cool. You are a badass. You were a scout sniper, like a legit scout sniper. I really don't want to fucking deal with it. So he was a very, very old school, hardcore Marine. So I'm sitting there, and he's like, what does this do? I'm like, well, that turns the turret left and right. What does this do? I had to teach him like a familiarization with being a vehicle commander as a Lance Corporal. The problem is, also on top of that, he wanted to do infantry tactic stuff, which is fine. Whatever, I don't care. Never cared. Infantry stuff is fun in small doses, or however long the Marine Corps makes you do it. So you could either bitch about it or you just do it. And I did both because I was a Lance Corporal. It was my prerogative. I was an E3. I fucking did both. So when shit came to shit, he could rely on me for the vehicle. But the problem is I'm still a smartass. I've never not been a smartass. I don't know how to not be a smartass. And so there was times when we were in the vehicle, I didn't understand that you can say things like, hey man, or whatever inside the vehicle because you're on comms. But outside that vehicle, you cannot. So I got to learn another hard lesson about saying, hey man. Right? I said that in front of another sergeant, and then I got the ever living dog piss smoked out of me. Like fucking smoked out of me. I want you to know it's about 2,800 steps from the beach on Camp Schwab to the barracks. and carrying sandbags that you filled to make a fighting position at the barracks sucks because you think you'll be okay. But 3 days later, you are done.
So
And
just
then,
how many times?
yeah,
I'll let you finish.
you cannot carry 2 50-pound sandbags more than once, no matter how strong you are, up a hill, because it's a straight fucking shot.
The question is how many times did you do that in order to remember it was exactly 2,800 steps 20 years later?
I did it. Let's see, my fighting position had to be chest high on my knee with the fucking dugout piece.
So he made you legit do a fighting position then.
With the grenade fucking hole and all that shit. Yeah, had to do the whole fucking thing. Had to set up a spot to shoot through. Had to build the whole fucking thing. Yeah. I mean, got really good at knowing how to set it up. Had to set up a fire plan sketch. Had to read a Warno. A Frago, sorry, about a potential attack and what we were going to do. Something happened. The learning experience was pretty fucking.
You know what though? That is so much better than the way I used to get my ass smoked in the Army. Because in the Army, it was just fucking make the wall sweat. If you were inside, if you were outside, just do whatever fucking thing we tell you to do till we get tired. There was no real learning behind it.
Oh, but this is after that.
Okay.
I low crawled through Okinawa fucking red mud. And I bear crawled through that shit. And I did so many fucking mountain climbers. Man, I was smoked. Like, this is the worst smoking I've ever had in my life.
But at least there was education there too, because what you know, and when I was in the Army, there was no education to it other than, hey, you fuck up, we're gonna make you sweat until you fucking hurt, and then hopefully you remember that this hurts and you don't do it again. There was no real education to it. Whereas when you went through that, you were doing fields of fire. You were learning how to build a fucking firing position. You know, not just you were honing your skills as you were being disciplined at the same time. You know, whereas with me, it was just, we're just gonna make you hurt.
I would rather get strong on a beach and do it on the beach and not do it at the barracks. Because here's the thing, right? When you're done with it, what do you got to do?
Just jump in the water, man.
No, like when you're done with the fighting position, 2,800 steps up a fucking hill. Not an easy walk either. Like a fucking steep hill. What do you have to do? Okay, go put my sand back on the beach. Here's the cool thing.
Yeah.
I had friends that were NCOs, and they let me fucking load up their vehicle and drive it to the beach. Still fucking sucked, though. Because the first day...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The first day, they were all laughing at me. I don't know, it's just like, fuck. Anyway, so, again, that kind of honed my focus of, like, drive and tenacity. I'm just not having an ability to quit. I just don't know how to do that. So yeah, that's my story of Okinawa. Lots of other stories there. I could go on for hours and hours about Okinawa. And like Gate 2 Street, Whisper Alley, shit we're not supposed to go down, but we all do. Whatever. Got put on a ship, floated around on the Mew. By the time I was 21, I had been in 33 countries. That's pretty wild. Like literally, like so when I say in 33 countries,
I want to bring it back to Okinawa.
Okay.
His code name was Sergeant Major Whiskey. So when Sergeant Major Whiskey was Okinawa, they had an area that they called the bush. Was that still around, or or did you not hear anything like that?
No, the entire northern Trinia. So we were at the base, the very northern portion of where bases could be. Beyond that was called the northern Trinia area, or the bush. And that's where I got my foray into monkeys and banana spiders and boars. Fucking hate all of those things.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe it kind of changed a little bit because he was talking about to the place where you would go to, make you holler for $1.
Oh, that one?
Type
Yeah.
of deal.
Oh no, there's definitely that still. That's out Gate 2 Street, and that's definitely down Whisper Alley for sure. That's my foray into all the fucking things that I can't unsee in life that are humans,
Oh, dude,
besides death and carnage.
I can only imagine.
So yeah, so that's Okinawa, right? So, and we do the 31st Mew. We go to the Philippines, which was fucking stupid. We do a bunch of, I don't know, all sorts of shit. When I was in Okinawa, remember that the entire Marine Corps that was deployed was over in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, we were there fighting, right? Everybody that was in Okinawa had never been. So we were used to doing what we did in Iraq, where we just put our flak jacket on over our shirt, and we wouldn't wear a blouse. It's too fucking hot. Just way too fucking hot. Later on, we found out that actually causes massive burns on your skin, and like whatever fucking, somebody thought it was better, whatever. So we we then go home after Okinawa, and I get home and I have no job. And surprising, as an infantryman, there are no civilian jobs available for you to do if you only know how to set up complex ambushes and kill effectively, call for fire, all sorts of shit, right? So I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I started off on recruiter's assistance. Not recruiter aid, recruiter's assistance, went 6 months on that. And then I augmented to active duty. When we got to active duty, they're like, hey, you're meritoriously a corporal. Awesome, cool. Running my fucking team, and they're like, hey, by the way, you've been selected to go to recruiter school. Okay. Go to recruiter school, get sent to recruiting duty, pick up meritorious sergeant, and then got busted down for some shit my ex-wife did. Me not knowing the UCMJ the way I'm supposed to. My ownership is that. Me making bad choices after she made bad choices. Dumb shit that we learned. And I believe in extreme accountability and extreme ownership. So she did the dumb shit. I retaliated with dumb shit. Not physical or anything like that. It was just cheating on each other because we're fucking stupid. And got caught.
Right.
In essence, right? Got busted down the day before I picked up meritorious staff sergeant. So I would have been a meritorious staff sergeant at the age of 23. Like, that's something you never see. 3.5 years into my enlistment, I would have been a staff sergeant, which is crazy. So got busted down to corporal, finished up my time, said peace bitches, I'm out. So that was, my entire time was 8 years. So I'd done.
Oh yeah, we definitely got some lag going on tonight.
Yeah, we do. So I'd hit my mark about really like 6 years of time in service. 5.5, whatever, 6 years. So I finished up my time, got out. It was 8 years total of service. And I missed it. I missed the camaraderie. I didn't miss the bullshit. So I was like, I'm not gonna re-enlist in the Marine Corps. It was a thing where the guy who busted me down, he didn't have to bust me down. We were separated when everything happened. So he busted me down, whatever. Found out later that he was under investigation for a bunch of shit that was really bad. When I was actually put up for a summary courts martial, which summary special courts martial, the second one. So for cheating, nothing else is what it is. Beat the courts martial. I had 7 field grade officers write me letters of recommendation talking about the type of Marine I was, and like 4 sergeant majors, and even the sergeant major of the recruiting command stepped in and stood up for me in the face of the adversity, because what they were trying to do is wrong. So the colonel that was in charge of the trial, so to speak, threw it out. So this is stupid. He's obviously going through a divorce. This shouldn't matter. Why are we treating a good Marine this way? So the major then called me back into his office, stood tall in front of the major, and he read me my rights and NJP'd me. Took my rank, and that's when I said, "Peace, bitch, I'm out. I'm fucking done." He's like, "You got 90 days restriction, 90 days half pay, 90 days blah, 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 90 days extra duty. I'll suspend it all as long as you do your job until you get out." I said, "Cool, I'm out. I'm not going to do this." So I put in my EAS papers and I said, "Peace." So when I got out, I was a little bit disheartened with the Corps. And I think that happens to a lot of people when they get out. People aren't really willing to talk about why they get out, but it's really just, it beats you down. Like over time, like the leadership that is in the Corps is amazing until it's not. Like your unit level leadership is always good, right? But when you get into the broader scope, it becomes very political and dumb, because they're always looking out for themselves. They're looking out for them and their family, which is not what the Marine Corps teaches. And so unfortunately, I just got put in a situation where it sucks. Nothing else I can do about that. So I just moved on. I was homeless when I got out. My ex-wife took my money and my everything. I had nothing in my bank account. Had nowhere to stay. Anything else? Went and got a job as a tire buster. Became an alignment tech. Became a master AAC certified master tech in 2 years. While I was doing that, I joined the Army National Guard. I was also bouncing as a bouncer for a bar in Utah, which is actually where I learned really how to implement fighting tools. By the way, I apologize. I got this post-nasal shit going on, post-nasal drip from burn pits. So I then joined the Army National Guard because I was like tired of helping other countries and other dumb shit. I was just like, whatever. They were like, well, the closest job we have, so you'd have to go through like MI school or anything like that, is combat engineer. Okay, cool. I'll do that. Not a big deal. I show up to drill my first weekend, and because I was homeless, the only clothes that I had was my Marine Corps hoodie and a undershirt. Sorry. This is getting old. Sorry.
No, you're fine, brother. You're fine.
And so I show up to drill to check into my unit, and they call me up in front of everybody, introduce me, and everybody goes, "Oh, great, another Marine." Hilarious, if you ask me. And so they're like, "We're gonna go to the range this weekend. Why don't you go get your supply issue, and we'll go from there." I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go to the range because I don't have a uniform. And it makes zero sense for me to go to the range without a uniform. So I go checked in. They get me some ACUs. They don't have boots, so they're like, "Just wear your tennis shoes." I was like, "No." And the staff sergeant looked at me and he said, "Did you just tell me no?" And I'm like, "So, per the UCMJ, because I learned the UCMJ, and per AR 670-1, the only time that you can wear tennis shoes in a military uniform is if you're injured. I'm not injured. I'm not going to do that. I won't disrespect the uniform." I say this in front of my first sergeant because I didn't know. I hadn't gone through my full check-in. I was just at SIF, right? Just getting my fucking supply issue. And my first sergeant's like, "I got some boots." I was like, "Very cool. Roger that. I'm in. I'll do that. No name tapes, no nothing, no U.S. Army, nothing. Just look at me. I'm an idiot. Here's your specialist tab." And I'm like, "All right, cool." Get my unit patches, everything else, put them on. Trying to figure out how like Velcro is tactical, whatever.
Dude, I've had that question for years, man.
Yeah, super fucking stupid. Also, why did we decide to choose a uniform that blends into only concrete?
Not just concrete, but old school couches from like the 70s.
Yes, that too.
You know, the couch like your grandmother had, you know. I hated that fucking uniform, dude. God.
Yeah. Anyway, so we go to the range. Get to the range. No, sorry, back up. So I leave. I don't have name tapes or anything. This private comes walking up to me, the fuzzy private. Okay. He's like, "Hey, man," and I'm like, looking around. He's like, "Are you Robertson?" I'm like, look at him, look at me, look at my rank, look at him, and he goes, "Yeah, you're Robertson, right?" I'm like, "Well, around these parts, they call me Specialist or Specialist Robertson, unless you outrank me." It's like a thing. It's always been a thing. And he's like, "Oh, not in the Army National Guard. My name's Andrew Jensen. I'm Andrew. Call me Andrew." And I was like, "No, I'm going to call you Private Jensen. And why don't we go over here and talk for a minute?" So I put him at parade rest. He resists at first. I'm like, "No, man, I outrank you. So I'm going to teach you outside of the view of anybody else, because it's not like I'm yelling at you. But I'm like, we're not boys from back on the block. You have to understand this, right? If we're in a situation in combat, which we don't know if we're going to go to combat or anything, and I tell you to do something, you need to understand instant willingness and obedience to orders. I'm not telling you for my own good or your own good. I'm telling you for the good of what we're doing. Mission accomplishment is always number one. It's always number one. It's never not been number one." And so I'm chewing this kid out in a professional manner because I don't know him, whatever. And then my squad leader walks up and he's like, "Robertson." And I go to parade rest and to show this kid customs and courtesies. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I was just teaching the private here how to address somebody who outranks them." He's like, "Who did he address?" I was like, "Me." He's like, "This isn't the Marine Corps. This is the Army National Guard." And I said, "What?" And the staff sergeant then proceeded to tell me that privates and E4s are the same. And I said to him, "Staff sergeant, per the Uniform Code of Military Justice, an E1 and an E4, also, if you look at the rank there, they are not the same. One is earned and one is initial. Here you go." And he says, "That's not how it works here." Looks at Jensen. "Did he smoke you?" "No." "Okay, cool. Get out of my face." And then proceeds to educate me on the fact that the Army is a bunch of people who have no understanding of rank structure. And so I said, "Okay, well, fuck. What did I just get myself into? I got 6 years of this? Fuck."
Oh, dude, it's 100% that way. Even active duty, or at least active duty where I was at in 3rd Brigade, E1 through E4, same fucking deal. You wasn't shit until you got E5, and then once you got E5, you were automatic. You were now you're part of the cool club, and you know other people got to listen to you. But E1 through E4, same shit, different day.
So I am now just befuddled with my life. Fuck. What if we actually have to go to war? Very first thing. Anyway. One of the greatest units I've ever served with, the 118th Sapper Company. They are the most decorated. Well, so they're no longer, they've been disbanded. They were the most decorated unit in Utah Army National Guard history. 3 Bronze Stars with Valor, like 200 Purple Hearts, all sorts of shit. So anyway, I'm there for 3 drills, and we're just cruising along, and I'm like, join the Army National Guard, going to help out people in America. There's going to be like a situation where they call us up to go help people in, like Hurricane Katrina shit. I'm going to be like helping out Americans. Fuck no. 3 months in, get a warno. Then we get our actual orders. We're going to Afghanistan. What are we doing in Afghanistan? We're going to do fucking route clearance. Fuck my life.
Oh, fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, that is one thing that I was so glad I never had to do.
So, route clearance for anybody that's going on, that doesn't know, you drive down the road looking for bombs, and there's 2 ways to find a bomb. You find it, or it finds you. Bomb found me twice.
And damn, were you at least in one of the mine rollers? I can't even think of what we actually called them.
The RGs? No, I was in the Buffalo.
Oh, okay. Oh, at least he was in a Buffalo. They still got that same V-shaped hole, if I remember right.
Mine rollers were crazy. I've seen those get blown up and such. So, yeah.
Oh, dude, I've had to recover blown up MRAPs, man. So like, anything can get destroyed, especially once they started using copper. And for those that don't know, once they started using copper in IEDs, once that copper gets superheated, it melts through steel like butter, like a knife through butter.
It's called the Meso Chardin effect. So basically, what happens is there's a piece of copper that they have that's an inverted, it's a concave cone. And so what happens is they have a first charge and blows up, and then it shoots that concave piece of copper, and it turns it into a projectile that pushes right through any armor, like almost any armor, right? So then it fucks everybody up inside. That allows so obviously that kills whatever it hits, but then it allows the blast to penetrate the whole of the vehicle, and when that happens, you get scrambled eggs. So,
you get once that copper goes through, you get the pressure wave and everything else that comes behind it, and it's just it's a bad thing.
Yeah, that's the scrambled eggs part, where everything inside becomes scrambled eggs. So,
yeah. Once that pressure wave, once that gets to you, you're done.
Yeah, it sucks. Super dumb. But we didn't have that in Afghanistan, which is nice. They didn't have those. They just used
nice.
They just used HME, which is homemade explosives, and they would put them in pressure cookers, and shit fucking thumps. Bad, real bad. And then they also used Russian mines, and they'd quadruple stack fucking Russian mines and all sorts of shit. Like they're fucking ingenious. If Afghanis put 1/10 of the effort that they put into making bombs into their society, they would outdo America.
Well, see, that's the crazy thing, dude. Because I don't know about Afghan. I don't know about Afghan, but I know in the 70s in Iraq, it was pretty much kind of very similar to Western culture. I mean, you had women walking around just like our women in the 70s, going to school, going to college, and then Saddam Hussein came in and Al Qaeda, and it just set everything back like 100 years once Al Qaeda come into play.
Yeah, same thing happened with Afghanistan. You had America left. Weird to mention that. We didn't leave them any support after we fought the Russians, the Zereshins. And then you had 2 factions. You had the new school faction of warlords and the old school faction of warlords. So there was, can't remember the new school faction. He wanted to keep Afghanistan the way it was, which at the time, Afghanistan was the place in the world for nurses to go to learn to be nurses. They had a tram system that was set up that went throughout the entire country. Women were treated with respect, everything else, right? Other side of that is the Mullah Omar, who is the founder of the Taliban. Mullah Omar came from the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen are fucking badasses. Like, they are, like, you got good ones, you got bad ones, but they're fucking awesome. They are fighters. They are, people think that those dudes run around and just fucking man jammies and whatnot, right? Fuck no, man. They are fucking hardcore men. And they are fighters. They will fight to the death. Unless it's cold outside, then they don't fight at all, which is an interesting statement.
I may have my history mixed up here, but the best example I can mainstream example I can give anybody that deals with the Mujahideen and how well the Afghan fighters and Iraqi fighters actually were would be what was that movie about the horsemen?
12 Horsemen. 12 Horsemen. Or 12 Men, or whatever, with Thor.
Right. Now, the movie, of course, takes things and blows out of proportion, but the actual story is very, very, very amazing. Those guys, the local nationals, were true, 100% true fighters, and they were not a joke. It wasn't what you see on how the media portrayed them to be.
Well, even in Iraq, you had the Fedayeen too. The Fedayeen, or they were the Iraqi elite guard. Yeah, they never fucking laid down their arms. we had Marines that were getting fucking hit 3 rounds center mass at 300 yards with an AK. If you never shot an AK, you know how fucking hard that is. 300 yards with an AK is. It's not a thing.
300 meters, anything iron sights. I mean, that's not it's an easy shot, but it's not an easy shot if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. So the thing is we were fighting war fighters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Oh man, then here I am interrupted again.
No, you're good, dude. So we were in that era. So so what ended up happening is, the West was watching this, and there was like these embedded reporters that were going over and talking to these different warlords and whatnot. Mullah Omar actually had one of his. So pause real quick. So we understand where the name Taliban comes from. It comes from Talib, which is like a priest or a deacon, like a young kid, not a priest, but like a deacon, a kid who's learning and studying their belief system, the Muslim belief system, right? So then they're learning to follow Islam. So that's a Talib. Taliban is what he claimed as God's army, basically. So he made it like if you're gonna go to war, you have to have something to stand behind, and the most important thing to stand behind is a belief system. And faith-based belief systems like really fucking hit home. A lot of people think that, we got there and then they all wanted to fight us. Well, they didn't. Nobody wanted to fight, really. But they have this thing. So the largest tribe there is called the Pashtun. And so they have a thing called Pashtun Wali, which is actually what saved Marcus Luttrell's life. So if a tribe brings you in and they say you are our guest, every man, woman, and child will die to protect you if somebody's looking for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when Osama bin Laden, when he fled to Afghan, he made friends with somebody. They didn't want him there. He's a Saudi. Like they don't like Saudis, and they didn't. But he made friends with somebody, and then so within the Pashtun tribe, and so now the Pashtun were required to protect him. So that's how we got into war with Afghanistan, because America didn't know culture outside of America. We just do American things, whatever, right? In essence, basically, we started bombing them, and then they started getting pissed even more so because they're losing people that had no reason to be lost. And so then now all of a sudden you have a religious belief that the infidels are going to kill all of us and rape our wives and bury our children, kind of thing. And so now you have an entire culture that just grew up hating us because we're Westerners, when they never ever cared. They're all farmers. They might be farming poppy, but they're still farmers. They don't fucking care. They really just don't care. But now that we're there and we're causing pain and discomfort for them, now they're faith-based, and these things that the people who can actually read the Quran are telling them these things. So back to Mullah Omar, this camera team is going to do an interview with the guy who's keeping the Western kind of trait, still following the Muslim belief. He had one of his suicide bombers go in with a bomb that was inside of a video recorder and blew up and killed everybody. And that was the last great stand to protect modern thought in Afghanistan. And then we come in and we do fucking dumb shit. And next thing you know, I'm in Afghanistan doing rap clearance and everybody fucking hates you.
See, that's not the vibe that I got in Iraq. But then again, those that I dealt with that I would say were GP, general public, were also the ones that were trying to sell me shit. So
there's a difference, though. Here's the thing between Iraq and Afghanistan, right? So Iraq, there was a sense of national pride. In Afghanistan, nobody fucking cares. So what ends up happening is, if you're not part of the tribe, there's like 72 tribes or some shit in Afghanistan, and they have tribal wars all the time. Wow. So you have three main tribes in Iraq. Was it Kurds, the Sunni, and the Shia, right? And we were friends with the Kurds. Right. So the Kurds were fucking war fighters.
Well, the Kurds aren't really. I mean, I may have this wrong, but the Kurds aren't really an Iraqi tribe. It was the Shiite and the Sunnis. Well, I think I've got that wrong.
The Kurds,
but anyway,
they were
north. We partnered with the Kurds. The Kurds helped us a lot, and they still do.
Yeah, I mean, and and so you're literally playing this game of like, which side should we be on, or whatever. Fuck it, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's no real good side in war. Nobody fucking wins, like, ever. So
exactly,
is what it is. So you have all of that's the backstory of Afghanistan. So, but with Afghanistan, the difference is that you have people who are neighbors who dig up, because they all know how to dig up. They all know where the fucking bombs are from the Russians. So they dig up the bombs, they dig up the anti-tank mines, they dig up the anti-personnel mines, and they put them along the property line of their property. So that way, if their fucking neighbor comes over and steps on a mine or bomb, they can fucking claim that property as theirs. It goes vice versa. It's both ways. It's fucking weird. And so, like, there's not a Western.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and like, people want to, like, they chant this fucking thing, like, Muslims aren't bad or whatever. I mean, maybe they're not. My experience is that if you go to Sharia law, which is what they do over there, it's no different than fucking radicalist Christianity, right? It's the same, except for
exactly.
Except for if you're a woman and you don't walk 6 spaces behind your husband, you walk too fast or you show too much skin, you'll get stoned to death. I think it's hilarious when I see, like, gays for Palestine, and I'm like, bitch, you guys would be dead. Like, you'd be fucking dead.
Every time I've seen that, I'm like, really? LGBTQ are for Palestine? Like, have you never picked up a history book ever?
Yeah.
Like, it blows my mind.
Absolutely.
And to the whole chant, to the river, to the sea, it's like, do you people not understand what that really means?
Yeah, it's just fucking. It's literally fucking mass genocide.
It's legit, from the river to the sea, as in get rid of Israel.
Yeah, so, like, it's all of that shit's dumb. So my experience in Afghanistan was amazing as far as, like, the brotherhood that I formed. The most carnage I've seen in my life was in Afghanistan, outside of Al-Nusra. I am cool with never experience war again. A lot of people say things like, man, well, if the government called you back up, would you go fight? And I literally just point to the way we exited Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam. And I'm like, fuck you, no. I've already done my time. I'm not a...
You know what?
No, I'm not doing it.
If it comes to my doorstep, that's one thing. But will I
Yeah.
go back and do it again? No, I'm sorry. If it affects my wife and my kids, absolutely. But outside of that, no, I'll find somebody else.
I don't even find anybody else. Just say no. Don't go to war with them. Fuck it. What are they going to do? We're on a
there you go.
Like, we're on a different continent. Why the fuck? Like, why would you do that? Like, no. I'm so tired of.
No,
so
true, 100%.
This is my thing, right? I'm so tired of so many people calling for war that have never been to war, and I'm so tired of the war machine that is America. Because I've lost so many friends, whether it's to suicide after they got home or overseas, that it makes zero sense. I'm not a pacifist, but as I say many times in my life, you don't know the violence it took to become this gentle.
Well, and especially with the way we left Afghanistan. I mean, especially with the way we left Afghanistan. That's an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
And anybody that doesn't see that is just blind.
Yeah. A lot of people will ask me like if I'm a patriot, and I still say no, I'm not a patriot. Like, if it comes to our doorstep, if it comes to America, I'll fight. 100% I will. But you have to understand that if you put me in a situation where I've got to go fight and I'm protecting America, I'm not following your fucking rules.
The ROE goes out the door.
Yeah, if you bring me back from the peace that I've found, which is not always peaceful, but if you bring me back from that, that person is not a person that should be let alone. Because I will not care. And a lot of people think that's scary, and it should be.
Absolutely. And, you know, I got a buddy of mine who was in the French Foreign Legion. He was in Bosnia. And me and him he was Marine Corps, and then he left the Marine Corps and went to the French Foreign Legion. And he tells me all the time, because I've told him before that I'm not going back. I won't go back. The only thing that I will do is if it comes to Montana within a radius that it's going to affect my family. And he's like, so you wouldn't go back to keep her from coming here? I'm like, no, let the young kids do that, man. Personally, I don't think we got any business being in another country trying to solve their fucking 100-year-old problems.
No, that ain't a fucking problem.
But no, I'm not. He gives me shit all the time because I tell him I won't do it, and I'm like, nah, dude, I'm happy right here in my little piece of paradise, and there is no reason for me to leave and fight somebody else's fucking battle for money. Because essentially, that's all it really is, in my opinion. I mean, the industrial military complex. I mean, come on, you can't tell me half of this shit about money. But anyway, we're getting off on a whole. That could be a whole nother conversation, bro.
Yeah, we'll wait for after your
that could be.
We'll wait for after your fiber gets fixed.
Right.
So,
oh man,
yeah. So in Afghanistan, I experienced a lot there. Just stuff that I could talk about, but most people really don't understand, which is fine. I don't care either way. Watching your friends get blown up and like suffer from concussions, getting blown up, suffering from concussions, forgetting who your family was for weeks, and then coming out of like this weird thing where you didn't know who the fuck you are, and then all of a sudden remembering that you didn't know who you were, but also not remembering what happened. Like there's like a 3-day gap in my life that I don't know anything at all about what happened in that 3 days. I mean, in my mind, maybe I'm fucking still in a coma. I don't fucking know. This is a pretty cool life. It's a weird trip. Maybe this is just what it is. And, I always say that out loud. And then everybody always says, well, if you're in a coma, then I'm in a coma in the same room with you. And I'm like, no, man, that's what my subconscious would tell me if that was the case. Like that's a fucking real thing.
Bro, if you're in a coma, I just want you to, the pictures you post of your place, like that's where I want to be.
Right. Montana sucks. Don't move here.
Yeah. Bears will kill you every week, every winter.
Yep. And we have alligators and crocodiles in the water, and sharks too.
Oh man, don't worry about the pictures that JT posts. Don't worry about that shit. It ain't real. That's all AI.
Yep. Thanks. So that's my military story. Some like very summarized. There's a lot of that stuff. Lots of different experiences. And I mean, if we want to talk about those, we can totally do that. I'm open to whatever you want, but that's just
I mean that. I feel like that's pretty good without going into a lot of detail because I mean, I'm all for going into detail, but at the same time, it's kind of keep it moving along. So that kind of summarizes your military aspect of your life. What kind of, and you've already hit on it a little bit between your transition from the Marine Corps into the National Guard, but when you came back to fully transition into the civilian life, did you have any challenges from leaving the Guard to coming back to civilian life like you did the Marine Corps going to the Guard?
Yeah, I think everybody does, right? Especially coming back from a deployment, and then you got to still do your time in the Guard, and like it's not the same things. You're there with all these kids that have no idea of what's going on. You're now all of a sudden the old breed, which is a weird fucking moment. And then you go out in the world, and what do you have? Like, what skill set do you still have? Yeah, sure. I led men into combat. I was a squad leader. I led men into combat. In the Army, I fucking fought alongside of some of the greatest men I've ever served with. Same thing with the Corps, right? But what do you have? Like what the military, like they have the yellow ribbon bullshit. They're like, here's how you write a resume. Yeah, fuck off, dude. Like, what are you going to put on your resume that's actually going to get you a job? And when was the last time this fucking person applied for a job? Because when you leave the military, let's say you're a sergeant. Most people get out between a corporal and a sergeant. So corporal, you're making like 40 at the time, 45,000 a year. Sergeant, you're making about 50, right? Maybe 52. And then you get your housing allowance, and you get your stipend for food. Or if you're on base, they take care of your housing, so you're not ever paying fucking bill. Like you don't know, right? And so then you get out, and you're like, oh, dude, I'm gonna go work for one of these companies that's veteran friendly. Like, I'm gonna go work for Home Depot. Well, you go work for fucking Home Depot, and they offer you a job at $14 an hour. That's fucking $31,000 a year, man. Like, really? Now, in today's world, I don't know. Today's world is fake money. It's not real money. It's not real wages. It's not sustainable. But like, even then, let's say you get out and you're making
that's all due to Reagan, though.
Yeah, there's a lot, right? Trickle down economics, right? Kind of bullshit. But when you get out,
we're not even based on a gold standard anymore. Like our money is not tied to anything tangible. So
no, yeah. Well, we don't have enough gold in the reserves for how much we owe, so it doesn't. Whatever.
But that's a whole other fucking podcast,
right? So when you get out, what ends up happening? Well, you're faced with one of the three major things that causes people to commit suicide, right? The number one thing that causes people to commit suicide is the loss of a loved one due to a "I'm not with you" moment. That is the hardest thing for people to understand. Number two is finances. I cannot provide for my family, which leads them to number one. So now you're basically a homeless vet, and you can't overcome that. The third thing is actually PTSD. People commit that suicide, PTSD, 1/20th the time that finances or a relationship failure happen. People don't know that. They think that, oh man, he's got PTSD. No, man, the stress of losing
more than that. It's so much more than that.
It's the stress of losing a partner or a spouse can cause that. I've gone through it in my personal life with the coupling of finances and also letting my demons win. I almost killed myself. But you have that compounding factor. So you get out of the military, and what do you got? And most veterans are like, I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. They don't know about the VA the programs that the VA actually provides that are good. They just know that if they go to the VA,
the VA,
yeah, like Voc Rehab or your GI Bill,
Mhm.
which is a post 9/11 GI Bill, you get paid to go to college. Like, go to fucking college or go to a trade school. You get paid to do it. Go do that so you learn a trade. Because whatever you're doing in the military, unless it's like cyber defense or intel or something like that, that's actually a tangible thing that you can do, it's not going to transfer. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, you could be a diesel mechanic after you get out, but by the time you get out, if you were a diesel mechanic in the military, you're going to be fucking broken anyways. Like, you can't do this shit.
But see, that was my job. I was a mechanic when I was in. I was a mechanic and a record crewman, and dude, my experience when I left the military and I went and worked at an international dealership working on trucks at a dealership. It took me about 3 months to realize I can make more money driving the damn trucks than I can maintaining those trucks. As a driver, I make about $170,000 a year as a driver, but the guy that's working on the shit, he might make 100. And let's be honest, whose job's a hell of a lot harder? It sure ain't me driving the truck.
Right.
Sure ain't me driving a truck. And it compounds with the more niche jobs like infantry, because what in reality, outside of working with Securitas or asset loss prevention, what are you going to do that's going to actually make you money outside of being a mall cop? I mean, you can be a police officer, you can go to the FBI.
Yeah, like, you're not even going to be a police officer. Most people that get out of the military if you're an infantryman, the police typically shut it down because you are trained to kill first before asking questions. And in the infantry, you're not trained to do that. You're trained to fucking
right, which is why KBR won't hire vets.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a real thing. They won't. The thing about this is that when you get out, there is nothing for you. So your job skill set is not there for you. So you have to rely on the resilience, the self-reliance, the discipline, and all those things to go get something. You have to do it. Nobody's doing it for you. Like there's this fucking mentality that drives me goddamn nuts. This thank me for my service shit. It drives me crazy. Or this fucking thing where there's a vet bro who's like, hey man, I'm a combat vet. What were you? I was Motor T. Fuck Motor T. No, dude, fuck off. Because like the reality is I couldn't have my fucking bullets or food to fight the fight without you. I'm sorry. Fuck off. I have zero for
that. I know somebody's going to say something because I agree with you on all this shit. And the first thing somebody's going to point out is my hat that says Iraqi Freedom Veteran. Yeah, it does. And the only reason I wear it is because my wife bought it for me. I don't buy that. I don't buy that shit for myself. My wife bought it, so I wear it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the thing is, dude, like, who fucking cares? I'm at the point in my life where I just don't fucking care. I really don't.
Well, I mean, that's like my mom. My mom found a couple of my medals and shit, and she sent them to me. And yeah, that's great. I really don't give a shit. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, none of that means anything.
I cherish my medals and ribbons to the point of the men and women that I fought alongside me that aren't here anymore. It's my memory moment. Like, I walk past them and they're there, right? I have a me wall, but my me wall doesn't have very many fucking, like, I have a shitload of awards. Like, if I fucking put up a wall of awards, it'd be fucking crazy, but whatever, dude. Like, I have my me wall for things that I've done outside of the military, and my DD-214, of course. You know, basically, like,
you got your 214 posted up.
I've got it framed. I just haven't hung it up. But I mean, it's a real thing.
Oh, though, nice.
Right? Like, it's a thing, because that chapter in my life is closed. And when you close a chapter in life like that, it really is an interesting transition. So when I got out, I ended up working as a recruiter for physical therapists and occupational therapists. Basically, somebody would a headhunter. I was good at it. I could talk to people, and I was real. Like somebody was like, you know, one of my clients is like, "Can we get you to recruit somebody to go to Ottumwa, Iowa?" And I was like, "Probably not." They're like, "I'm like, tell me what Ottumwa, Iowa is famous for." And they're like, "Well, you know, Radar O'Reilly from MASH." And I'm like, "Bro, we are so fucking far past MASH, and also it's fucking Iowa. I'm sorry, you're not going to get a physical therapist there. That's just not going to be a thing that happens. What's going to happen is you're not a destination people want to go." But there, and it was on straight commission, and I struggled and struggled and struggled. Then I opened up my own automotive shop, and that's when things kind of went weird for me in my life. I relied back on my certification, my SE certification. I was really good at sales. I did a bunch of shit in my life that was good to take me to that place. I ran my own automotive shop for 3 years. I didn't take a paycheck for 3 years, which is really hard. But I paid my bills, if that makes sense. But I didn't have spending money. I didn't have time to go do stuff. Nothing, right?
Anybody that owns a business knows exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So during that time, I was going to school. It took me 9 years to get my bachelor's degree, total. And so I finally got my bachelor's degree. I went through my second divorce. I have one divorce for each branch shortly after I got out of the Army. And my PTSD demons beat me. The VA prescribed me every fucking drug you know to man to be on to help try to find a balance, which, I mean, whatever. I finally said no to my psychiatrist at the time and this was like, so everybody's aware, like PTSD diagnosis and therapy. It's like cutting edge therapy. People don't know that. Like they think that this has been around forever. It's been around for 20 years. It's never been
so
before.
Wild because like I don't know how your therapy sessions were, but for me everything was video conference because of the nature of my job. And my therapist actually 3 months ago? Like 3 months ago, my therapist was like, "Hey, you're not getting better. You're not getting worse. You're kind of right in the middle. There's nothing more I can do for you unless you quit your job." And she didn't say that, but essentially it was, "There's nothing more I can do unless you quit your job and come see me in person, and we go through a more advanced trauma therapy." And my question was, "What the fuck am I supposed to do until then?" She's like, "Well, you're doing good." She's like, the cocktail's working. I'm like, "Yeah, for now."
Yes.
You know, but it's just it's so wild that I got dropped because of my profession. Like, granted, things haven't gotten worse, but I also had somebody to talk to. You know, and that's kind of what led me to what I'm doing right now. You know, is talking to other vets and because as much as I want to get your story out and everybody else's story out, so that the general public has a deeper understanding of what it's like to be a veteran and what things our generation has done for our country and our families. It's also very therapeutic for me to hear everybody else's story and to get parts of my story out in the conversation as well. This crap helps me a lot. I hope it helps you and everybody else as well. You know,
I talk about it a lot. So I went through prolonged exposure therapy for about 3 months, and I said, "Fuck this shit. I can't do this." And then they tried to prescribe me lithium, and I said, "Fuck off."
Oh wow! Oh really?
Yeah, I said, "I'm not a pink bunny rabbit. It's not a thing." So I said, "We need to look at holistic options." So then I went to a Hapoti Sweat Lodge, which they offer at every VA. Which was
wait a minute.
They offer Hapoti Sweat Lodges at every VA.
Sweat Lodge. I'm gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, it's where the Native American trance light state where you go and you sweat and everything else. So I did a Hapoti Sweat Lodge at the VA in Salt Lake, and it was a fucking crazy trip. I was struggling real hard. And so back to the story, I started dating a gal, and this is where my story turns dark. right before that, I had a road rage incident. If you've ever been to Utah, the Utah is the Utah Hogle Zoo. It's up a canyon basically, and so you come down the canyon, and it's I-80, and it turns, or sorry, it's a road that turns on I-80, and then I was merging on, and I was in a minivan with my wife at the time and our 6 kids, my 3 daughters, her 2 daughters, and her son, and this dude from India cut me off and made me slam on the brakes. So I sped up and I ran him off the road, and he flipped me off. That was the trigger point. He flipped me off. So I ran him off the road, and I got out of the truck, or the van, and I popped the back tailgate lift gate. And when I popped the lift gate, I was reaching for a tire iron because I was going to kill this dude on the side of the road. When I did that, all the kids were crying. My ex-wife was crying, and I started walking up, and the dude from the Indian dude, got out of his truck, van, whatever fucking vehicle it was, and he started walking towards me, and I was like, I will kill you, and you're lucky that my kids are crying. And that's when I realized that I had a fucking problem. So I said, I'm sorry. And he started walking towards me. I'm like, if you don't get back in your vehicle, I will kill you. I'm leaving. I'm sorry. Got back in my vehicle. That's when I went to the VA. I was like, I have fucking trauma. Did the PTSD intake, found out like the score is like out of 100, and I scored like an 89 or whatever on their shit. It was really bad because I mean I had a lot of fucking trauma from being blown up, ambushes, shot at, seeing fucking dead people, smelling burnt flesh, like you can fucking name it. I've seen most of it, right? And so I realized that I was carrying all that. And then they prescribed me Prozac at first. That heightened everything. It's fucking bullshit. They prescribed me like Zoloft, maybe. I don't know. There was a bunch of shit. Xanax, maybe. I don't fucking know. A bunch of fucking things. They did like 10 different drug cocktails, and I was like, this isn't working. So fast forward, well, those demons got to me a lot. Stress of life got to me a lot, and I let them win a lot. And I ended up, just getting divorced, and then I was alone. And then I started dating a gal as a rebound. When I dated the gal as a rebound, I fucking put all of my heart and soul into this person. I latched onto them like a fucking leech. And she wasn't a good person for me. She's a good person probably outside of this, but she wasn't a good person for me. So we're dating. We break up. I have nowhere to live. I'm homeless again. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this is ridiculous. Move in with a friend in his basement. He's like super kind. A guy that doesn't talk to me anymore because I didn't deserve him at the time. He took care of me at the time. Mm-hmm. Him and his wife and his 3 kids who love me. I'm on my way down to pick up my kids. My ex-wife moved with my kids and moved out of town, out of state, when I was in Afghanistan. And so I was driving down to go pick my kids up in New Mexico from them. And I found out, some information that my ex had been dating somebody else while we were together or whatever. Whatever, right? It's one of those fucking kick to the dick, right? I have my kids for Thanksgiving. My 16-year-old says, I don't ever want to see you again. And I know that the courts are going to take my side. I don't have any money to fight a court battle. I'm broke as fuck. I have my business, everything else going on. Driving back down, I get a text from a mutual friend of ours that my ex got married. It was 3 weeks after we broke up. Big kick to your ego. Real big kick to your ego, right? Also found out at the same time from my accountant that there's no way that I could recover from my automotive shop. I had to shut my business down. And one of my friends killed herself that night.
Oh, shit.
So I'm dropping off my kids, headed into my first holiday season without them, and having no partner, no nothing. All I have is my dog, Montana, named after the greatest quarterback to play football. I've got my friend and his wife. I started working for a company called CR England as a recruiter, driver recruiter, trucking company.
Oh, I know.
And I was making $12.50 an hour, plus commission if people made it through school. Which they never fucking did, so it's whatever. And so I'm in this really weird headspace, and I'm alone. So I go to the bar and I start trying to find my life at the bottom of the bottle. Well, the problem is there's no life at the bottom of the bottle. The only thing at the bottom of one bottle is another bottle. Started back at bouncing. Wasn't helping. Like I just had no way out in my head. And I just kept hearing my daughter say that I don't ever want to see you again in my head. Just kept hearing it. And like the death of my friend and all the shit that I'd gone through, I was like, maybe I just don't need to fucking be here anymore. So I had $400 in my bank account, and I went to the gun store and I bought a 45, which I still own to this day. And I bought a box of ammo, and I loaded the gun, and I was sitting in my base in my room in my friend's basement, which was about as big as my little podcast area here. And I racked around and I put the gun in my mouth. And as I did, my dog climbed across my lap and pulled the gun out of my mouth and laid on me. And he just looked at a picture of my kids that I still have to this day. And I just broke down. I had my dog save my life. He just kept looking at a picture of my kids, and Monty saved my life.
Man, dogs know, dude.
Yeah. Monty passed in 2019, 2 days after Christmas.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I let the demons win, man, that day. But not all the way. They thought they won the war. So we struggle with that. Man, like, it's a hard conversation every time I tell that story. Because it's real.
Oh, yeah.
He laid on top of me until I finally dropped the gun. And then I cleared it and went upstairs, gave it to my friend, and my friend was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I moved out about 6 months later. In the meantime, I was able to find a way to cope with my demons. It wasn't because I didn't do drugs or I didn't do alcohol. I continued to drink, but I was like, this ain't me. This ain't me. My friend Brad, he passed away 2 years ago. He was a KJ, karaoke DJ, and Brad told me he needed some help. He was starting a karaoke idol contest in Utah, and he needed contestants. So I said, I don't want to sing. He said, just come out. I'll buy you a drink. I'll buy you dinner. I didn't have any money, so I was like, sure, I'll come out. And so he's like, what do you want to sing? I said, I'll sing Hurt by Johnny Cash. Now, I'd never sung before, really, in front of anybody. And I sang Hurt by Johnny Cash, and I got a standing ovation. Here's the funny thing. When you're singing in front of people, none of your demons fucking matter because it's more terrifying than your demons. All you can do is fucking focus on you. So what happened? I was having PTSD episodes every day. Like every fucking day. Like debilitating episodes. It's like anger that people don't fucking know. And after I sang, I didn't have one for 3 days. And wow. I made it to the next round. That's a big step. People don't fucking know how big that is. No drugs, no nothing. 3 days.
Dude, that's crazy. To go 3 days, that's In the beginning, that's crazy. Like in
So,
a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I moved on from that. I moved on to the next round, and I sang again. And then I didn't have a PTSD episode for 5 days. I made it to the final round and I lost, but every time I started singing, everything went away. Just fucking went away. And it didn't matter if it was Johnny Cash. And I think the reason why I got a standing ovation is because I was in so much pain, just like Johnny Cash was when he sang that song.
Oh, because it's so real.
Yeah. I ended
because of how real it was, man. Like,
yeah. And I ended up becoming addicted to karaoke, which is actually something that, is a real thing. The thing is, veterans, warfighters, heroes, whatever you want to call us, we're too prideful to fucking acknowledge these things, right? So when you go down that path of pain, all you are looking for is just a breath of fresh air so you can stop drowning for 5 seconds. So ever since that day, I have made it a mission in my life to help others that are veterans that are struggling like I was. I don't offer finances for people. I don't do that. I don't offer fucking therapy sessions because I'm not a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want your 3 o'clock in the morning phone call. That's a time when you got to deal with shit because I'm not putting my family in front of you. You in front of my family. But you've got to find something that allows you to be the lead when you dance with your demons. Your demons aren't ever fucking going away. You can't unsee and unfeel and undo that shit. But what you can do is you can be the lead.
The memories are always there.
Yeah. And over time they fade. They're not as bad. But you have to focus on that shit in your life. You have to focus on the right thing at the right time. So whenever I talk to a veteran who's struggling, they ask me how I overcame it. I'm like, my dog and karaoke. And then they laugh like I'm fucking around. But it's real. Whenever I don't do karaoke, whenever I don't do karaoke, it's a thing that I suffer from it. I suffer for not doing it. And it can't be karaoke in the car. It's got to be in front of other people. And here's the thing about PTSD for people who don't know. So what happens is your adrenal gland spikes and stays pegged. Most people will step down over time. Whether that's, 30 minutes or 5 months or whatever, you'll step down, you'll get back to your regular. But with PTSD, what happens is your adrenal gland spikes and stays pegged and it doesn't come down. So then in order for you to feel a come down, you have to have another spike. Well, you could either do an adrenaline rush, which is jumping on airplanes or whatever to try to reset it. It never works because then now it's all the way pegged up here, or anger. So anger is like the easiest way to get your adrenal gland to go up so you can feel a drop.
And that right there.
Yep. And so
go
ahead.
So just a quick thing on me, because I haven't told you this, but the entire reason I started going to the VA is because me and my wife had an argument one day, and she had the fucking guts, and I mean she had the guts, because it took. She's a strong woman to be able to come to her husband and tell me that she was scared that one day our family was going to end up on the news. Another vet kills his wife and kids and commits suicide. And that is when my world fucking just collapsed all around me. And when I started going to the VA. And it's wild. You're talking about the adrenal gland and all that. And part of my treatment, and they say I have ADHD, PTSD. But part of my treatment is Prozac as well as the highest dose of Adderall you're legally allowed to take. So it's very much an upper. You know what I mean? It's very much a stimulant that I get every day. Medically, was not really doing anything worth a shit.
Well, that's
They
why
say it's ADHD, but
that's why the singing works, because you scare yourself back into normalcy. But also,
right.
Yeah. So, but the thing is when you're singing in front of people, you can't worry about anything else. You have to only focus on the things that you can control. Right? If you walk off that stage without singing, then everybody just kind of looks at you like, what did this fucking guy do? Why did he even volunteer? And it's karaoke. Like, you're not making money for singing karaoke. Maybe you will, I don't know, but most likely not, right? So you can only focus on you. If there's a bar fight that happens, and as long as it's not your friends, you can only control your fucking voice.
Well,
if there's a fucking cackling hen out there fucking annoying the shit out of you, you can only control you. Glass breaks, only control you. Mm-hmm. I make a habit of sitting anywhere I go with my back to the door.
How the fuck do you do that?
Because you can't control it. You can only control you.
So my little office right now, like when I was setting this thing up to be my little studio or whatever, I was talking to my wife about desk and all that stuff, and she's like, "Well, you can just get you a desk and put it up against the wall and do that." And I'm like, "You're out of your mind. There's no way in hell I'm putting my back against the doorway." She's like, "It's our house." I'm like, "There's no way." So, and she's like, "But that takes up so much room." And I'm like, "I don't care. Like, I'm not putting my back to a door." So for you to do that willingly blows my mind. That's crazy. Like, everyone, but I mean, in a good way, but it's crazy.
I do it on purpose. Dude, it's not comfortable sometimes, but I do it on purpose. I mean, that's what you have to do. So you could either choose to stay the way that you are, or you could choose to be better. And if you continue to do the same fucking thing everywhere you go, then you're not getting better. You're just staying the same. If you want to be status quo, that's fine. But you're not going to be better. You're not going to get better. You have to make a conscious choice to be uncomfortable. Your body actually puts you in a state of mind. Homeostasis is comfortability. In order for you to be built better, to build muscle, you have to tear muscle. In order for you to be better in life, to become great in whatever you're doing, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to understand and learn to be uncomfortable. The body would literally would prefer to be comfortable in its own hell versus being uncomfortable in heaven, because it's that thing. So once you understand that concept, the only way to change is by fucking changing. So change, or don't talk about it.
Dude. So it's mirrored right now, but this book's up here for a reason. Embrace the Suck. It's a very good book. If you haven't read it, I really recommend it. But it's exactly for pretty much exactly what you're saying, man. You don't grow by being comfortable.
No. Lots of people will be like, "Hey, you got to get up at 4:30 in the morning." Like Jocko Willink, this shit. I love Jocko. He's a stuff.
I love Jocko,
but I'm not doing Jocko Willink shit. I'm not doing Andy Frisella shit. I've already done the 75 hard. I'm not that committed to not enjoying life as I go through it. But they have
75 hard is wild, man. I tried it.
I know. I remember. I did it in one go.
Oh wow.
Never restarted. Just start to finish. Did it in one go.
Wow.
I will tell you this.
All about it. Suck.
I mean, I'm just driven and dedicated to, if I make my mind up to do something, it's getting done. Okay. When you make the choice to be better in life for yourself, then when you make the choice to not let your demons dance, it's a fight every minute of every fucking day. And the moment you let your guard down and you don't do the things you're supposed to do for yourself because you're focused up too much on something else and you don't have balance for yourself, is the moment when the world comes crashing down around you. And you have two options when that happens. You could be poor pity me and a fucking victim, or you can get your fucking big boy pants and fucking get back in them and stand the fuck up and start fresh the next day. And it starts with something as simple as fucking business. It starts as simple as sitting in a fucking restaurant with your back to the door. That's not simple,
dude,
but that's the statement that it is.
And it's so wild because I agree 100% with everything you're saying, and I'm transitioning from trucking to being a driver recruiter right now. That's a hard freaking job, but I'm trying to make a lot of changes in my life so I can be here for my wife and my kids instead of being gone fucking Iowa when I should be here. But anyway, like I'm all about embracing the suck, going through the pain, making things happen. But the whole back against the entryway thing is still a very hard thing for me to do. And it's, but God, you're right. God, you're right. Like if I can't beat that, then what makes me think I can beat this other shit? You know what I mean?
Well, I think the bigger thing to think about is not that. Don't think about what you can't do. Think about what you can do. You're a father, right? Mm-hmm. The veteran community is a bunch of fucking doomsayers. We all are. Okay, we really all are.
Yep.
Okay. Worst case scenario is this. It's okay to prepare for the worst case scenario, for sure. It totally is. I'm not gonna. I mean, that's why I have. I used to have a bunch of guns, but I lost them in a boating accident.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I hear you.
Right. But stop looking at what you can't do and start looking at what you are and what you can do. You've got to change your mentality in life. And it's not easy. You have to. There's a book that you should read. It's called Atomic Habits. It's my fucking Bible by James.
Oh, dude. When we were in the Midgard Viking Brotherhood, man, remember I brought that up as doing a little study group on it. It's a great book, an amazing book.
Yeah, I think I turned you on to it. I'm pretty sure I did, because I was like,
was it you that turned?
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So you have to habit stack when you're doing stuff. And the biggest thing that I learned from that book that it holds true is that ice doesn't melt at 31.9 degrees. Doesn't melt at 31.95 degrees. It melts at 32 degrees. But the difference between 31.9 degrees and 32 degrees is a small win. Smallest win you can think of. It's not even a full degree. Mm-hmm. So do things that win, that you stack your habits. When you walk in to a restaurant, sit away from the door, distance away from the door, mm-hmm. and sit with your back towards the door. You know that if there's somebody that's going to engage anybody and you're further away, you'll have time to react. Start there. That's not that hard. But sit with your back to the door. Don't let your fucking demons win. Don't do that. That's dumb. Do the change. Be the change that you want to see in the world. You cannot affect change without being the change. It's not a fucking thing that you can do. It's not a thing. I have tried to live my life and try to coast. It does not fucking work. If you coast, nothing happens. You stay the same. The veteran community, people, men, women of the veteran community want to be like, I was Uncle Rico. Fuck off, dude. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that I have fucking 31 fucking medals and ribbons. Nobody cares. No one cares. Cool story, bro. You can sit around the campfire with your boys twice a year when you guys get together, and you can talk about old shit. But nobody cares outside that group, and nobody's gonna care. It's okay. Nobody cares about anybody. They care about themselves and what they have. So do what's right for you to be better. Don't hold others accountable for you.
That's kind of, and that whole conversation is what brings me to why. Well, I've already mentioned this once already, but the whole reason I do this podcast is because it helps me to realize, and my whole tagline in this is "You're not alone." So it's just a reminder to myself as well as others that I'm not the only one that's been through this shit. There's people that's been through it a lot worse than I have, like you, for example. And, you know, I've been through it worse and less than other people. We all have our degrees of difficulty. We all have our ways of getting through it. And this is just one way that I keep myself on track with letting other people, other veterans know that it's okay. You'll get through it and we'll do this shit together. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if you follow me on any of the socials, you know for a fact that I always say that you're not alone. You know that I have a huge mental health awareness piece for men. I only talk about men's mental health because I'm a man. I'm not a fucking woman. I have no idea how they talk or think or anything.
Right. Dude, every year you invite me to the, what is that freaking run we do? They do down in Bozeman.
Not Bozeman. Yeah, you're right. Reverend Warriors. Yep.
Yeah. Every year you invite me. I have yet to go, but you invite me every year.
Yeah. It's getting people together that are struggling, and you get together and hang out, and you get to be in the military, but out of the military. It's fun. But, like, you know, beyond that, if we're being real, and I think this is probably a very serious and awesome podcast for this, but most veterans that I know that are struggling put on a facade because they don't want to talk about their feelings. They don't want to be kind or softer. Here's the thing. I would way rather listen to you crying and whining about some shit that I don't understand than putting a fucking bullet through your brain.
Absolutely.
So come talk to me because I might have some advice that might help. I might have a similar situation that I'm going through. You're not alone in any aspect of your life, even if you are out there. The only time you're alone is when you self-isolate, and that's when you get hooked on drugs, and that's when you do bad things.
Exactly.
I just went through a breakup.
Exactly.
I just went through a breakup in my life and reached out to my therapist. I haven't talked to her in like 5 months. It's okay. I immediately opened up a case, went back in. I started talking to her about things, and she called out the things that I wasn't doing in my life. And here's the thing. Because I'm focused on my growth, my ex and I are we're going to be friends. Because I'm focused on me, and I'm focused on the things that I need to take care of, and it allows that. And a lot of people are like, well, why the fuck would you want to be friends with your ex? Because sometimes oil and water don't mix, and you can love a person, but you find out that you're just not good for each other in a relationship. Right. But friendship works. And too many people get wrapped up in like propping somebody up on a pedestal. You can't. The only person you should be propping up on a pedestal is yourself. Not even your kids. Your kids are going to do the kids stuff. They're just going to all do that. Celebrate their wins. Be there for them. Be a dad. Be a mom. Like, show up. But it doesn't matter if you show up for them if you aren't showing up for yourself. And like these sayings and these phrases may be cliche, but the reality is at the end of the day, if you don't show up for yourself, it doesn't fucking matter. And that's a real statement. I've been homeless twice in my life.
One of my favorite.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've been homeless twice in my life. 2 times. And I've overcome that because I started showing up for myself. Not because anybody else saved me. I showed up for myself. And I pulled myself out of it. I'm an idiot. So if I can do it, anybody can fucking do it. I'm a fucking crayon eating window licker. Okay? I now have a master's degree because I showed up for myself. I own a business because I showed up for myself. I own a 20-acre ranch here in Montana and a mead company that's already shipped to 39 states and has sold through 97% of our first 5,200 bottles in only 90 days. We had 1,000 people at our grand opening. I am not special.
By the way, every time you post a new, what would you want to call it? A new distributor online, dude. Like, I love that so much. I'm so happy for you guys. You have no idea. I don't talk to you as often as I probably like to, but I'm so proud to see you guys kicking ass with this, dude.
So, my message to everybody, and I know we're probably getting short on time here, but my message to everybody is literally show up for yourself before anything else. Do the thing that's hard. Stack habits. If you've got anxiety, just know that anxiety is part of life. It's called stress. It's okay if you have to take pills, right? If they help you. Don't be reliant on anybody but you. And if you really do have social anxiety, shut off your social media.
Oh, amen to that shit.
If you're worried about likes and follows and subscribes and fucking mean comments and whatever fucking bullshit, kill the social media. Go get in nature. Go pet a dog. Lay on a fucking grass. If you're allergic to grass, fucking go outside, see the sun. Fucking spend time outside, spend time away, disconnect. And I promise you your anxiety will be reduced. You don't need meds for that.
I agree 100%. That outdoors is where it's at. Like,
yeah.
Like, with me personally, if I was doing this for the likes and subscribes and the potential quote unquote money there is out there from doing podcasts, I wouldn't be doing this right now. I've got like what 18 people at the moment that watch this shit, and I'm very thankful. Very thankful. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, this is more for me than for anything else. But I really do get something out of it. But social media is a killer for society and culture. And in a way, it brings a lot of culture to us, but it's just so toxic. People only post like the really good things about their lives. You never see that. And I think a lot of people get blinded by that.
Mm-hmm. They think that the world is because nobody ever posts the bad shit. People don't ever know that for 2.5 years I struggled every fucking day building a building from scratch. They just think that I fucking am always the way that I am. They don't know the fucking constant fights that I had with people in my company and my partner, spouse at the time, and all of the things. They don't know the pain and anguish. They just think that everything's a fucking fairy tale. It's not. Nothing is a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. There are no fairy tale endings. You have to work. And if you worked in the military, you sure as fuck should work in life. And if you've never been in the military, you got to work fucking too. The only thing that we got as a gift is nothing. We fucking had to earn all of our shit. And the thing that most people, when it comes to veteran mental health, we are the biggest fucking victims. This thing happened to me because I served. Cool story. It happened to all of us. Like, I'm not diminishing your value or what you went through, but instead of fucking focusing on the negative, why don't you focus on the things that you have? Like, you're alive. Yeah, your friend's not. That sucks.
Oh, man.
Survivor guilt fucking sucks. We all have it. But why don't you live your life in the way that your friend would want you to? People want to fucking say about Memorial Day all the time. They say the shit about Memorial. It drives me fucking nuts. Don't, today your barbecue and your blah, 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 and your beers, they don't mean anything. Dude. I'm like, fuck off, man. If I hate that shit, dude. If I died, I would hope my friends were fucking drinking for me. Fuck off. Stop being a fucking, stop pitying me. I mean, I've done it. Everybody does it, right? At some point you do it. But at some point you got to realize that if I'm not here anymore, I want my friends to celebrate me. I want my loved ones to celebrate me.
Exactly.
I don't want a fucking funeral. I want people to party like I party. I want people to fucking tell a story.
Man.
Yeah, I want somebody to tell a story about something that I did that made them fucking laugh that it was stupid. I want people to fucking talk shit about my dreadlocks or marvel at my magnificent beard or fucking talk about mead and be like how I put it back on the map. Whatever. I don't fucking care. Don't mourn me, though. I've lived a great life. don't fucking mourn me. Stop mourning yourself.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
Anyway.
It's get back to having life. Get back to having fun.
Yeah. So my challenge to you, Turbo.
Oh, here we go. You love doing this to me.
Yeah. Look, if I can overcome it, you can overcome it. My challenge is this, okay? Put yourself in the awkward position more than not. I'm going to give you a discrete direction that you have to go. Not discrete, a direction, just a direction that you have to travel down. In the next 30 days, I know that you're going to go to a sit-down restaurant probably once a week and eat with your family. I want you to sit with your back to the door 4 times. Once a week.
All right. You know, the funny thing about that, the entire reason this podcast is started is because I brought it up to a friend of mine that this is something I've kind of wanted to do, and they challenged me to do it. And you see where I'm at. So
Good. Do it.
Challenge accepted.
Report back.
We'll do. But I didn't really say anything, dude. You're such an awesome storyteller. But before we get out of it, we've been at this for like 2 hours. But before we get out of here, man, let people know about that mead company you got going on, man.
Yeah, so it's called the Bearded Viking Mead Company. My name is JT. They call me Viko. I am the founder and mead master. I invented all the recipes and the process. We're located here in Columbus, Montana. We can ship to 42 states currently. We have opportunities for people to purchase from us online. We can ship directly to your door. We're veteran owned and operated. The governor of Montana stopped by and hung out with me for an hour. We were in the newspaper with him. It's kind of a wild experience. We're just dudes doing dude shit. If you don't know what mead is, the oldest alcohol in the world, most people make mead and taste shit. Mine doesn't. Now I say that because I used to buy fucking alcohol that bounced when I fucking drop it. So I know shit alcohol. I know real alcohol. We have 16 flavors. We just barely got started. My plan is to leave a legacy for the world for my children and my partner's children. So they, like all my business partners, so their children can grow and have an opportunity to succeed in life. It's not given, they have to earn it. So the Bearded Viking Mead Company's main mission in life is to mead up with people and bring people together around a campfire versus driving drunk or doing anything else. I want you to spend time with your friends, and I want you to talk to your friends, because that conversation could save a life. And finally, at the Bearded Viking Mead Company, we teach kindness. Understand things when I say kindness. A smile can save a life. And take this to heart. If you're being kind to a horse that has a broken leg, you have to put the horse down. Protect your safety. Protect yourself. Be kind. And meet up with your friends.
Dude, I freaking love it. Love it. When did you guys start shipping? Because if I would have known that, I would have been buying some a long time ago.
May 3rd, when we opened, the day we opened.
No shit, really?
We had 1,000 people at our door on May 3rd.
Oh, dude, I didn't realize you guys were shipping then. Yeah, I told my wife about that. I was like, I'm so upset that I can't go to freaking. But I'll post links down to your website to the socials for the mead company. I won't do your personal stuff unless you want me to.
Oh, you can follow me. I don't give a shit. Everybody else knows who I am. You can also post a link to our men's mental health podcast called Vikings, Outlaws, and Cowboys.
Absolutely. I'll definitely do that. And we'll have to get together again, man. It was a blast, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't realize your story was that deep, man.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Well, I hope you enjoyed it.
I'm glad you're overcoming it, and I'm glad you're doing great things.
I'm a dude doing dude shit is what I tell everybody. I just fucking wear my heart in my sleeve and live my life the way that I need to, as much as I can. I fail often, but failing forward is the best way to do it. I'm going to just do a sign off real quick for everybody who's listening. I'm Viko, and as always, cheers.
Hey guys, we had a little bit of technical difficulties last night with internet here at the house, so I apologize. But anyway, this is Turbo. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Viko. He's a great guy. Check out his meadery down in Columbus, Montana. I'll post up links to his websites and his socials. But once again, thanks for hanging out. See you guys next time.
Better know I got it in the watches. I'm about to do the damn thing. I'm an outlaw. You can never catch me. I'm in first place. You can never. These are the moments. Only got one life. This is your moment, whether wrong or right. You're your own enemy. Your own enemy. Your own enemy. Yeah. When I fall, I keep running. Feel the pain, but I love it. Yeah. You know I'm built for it. You ain't gotta ask twice. You ain't by that fast life. 100 on the dash with the cash light. You ain't by that fast life.